can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for a candy addiction. You can use me as an example for.
Hey everyone, we've just finished the first podcast, vlog, video. I don't know, we're still not sure what we're calling it, with my friend Stuart Hardy Taylor. So just a bit about Stuart. Stuart's a guy who's got lots of years of recovery now. He's one of the first people I met on my recovery journey. Stuart actually works in recovery now. He works at a rehab. He's got loads of information, loads of advice. He's a guy who, like, literally you look at him and you know that he's doing it every day, and he's passing on what he's learned to other people, both in his job and just in his daily life. Stu's also a published author. He's got a couple of books out, which we'll put in the links somewhere. And yeah, just a top bloke. The interview itself, actually, we got like an hour and a half in, and we've only got to sort of where he went into rehab and started his recovery journey. So we're actually going to make this a two-parter. Going to hopefully film the second half this week. But yeah, Stuart, top bloke, lots of great stuff to say, and yeah, he knows what he's talking about. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get something from it. Cheers. Okay. It's all right, Stu. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting with us.
No worries, Rich.
So I guess if we just start off a bit with like your story from wherever you feel comfortable starting, and we'll just have a chat about it, really.
Yeah. Well, so I was born in Leicester and raised up here in Loughborough on a bigger council estate, just up the road, Shelford. And life was good. Happy childhood and what have you. Absolutely loved football as a kid. And I always say, if I'm ever doing a main share or anything within one of the fellowships that I attend, or whether it's at a church or whatever, I always say that, the stuff that I've learnt now, having been in recovery for a bit, and how addiction works and the obsession and the compulsion of addiction, it's made me look at myself throughout my life, and I could even sort of pinpoint, even like right as a young kid, I had that obsession and compulsion, but over football. I don't see that much difference between me constantly obsessing about football, not wanting to go to school, but wanting to play football. Can't wait to get out at break time to play football. As soon as I'm playing football, I just want to play more football. I don't want to come in from break, don't want to do none of that stuff. Mum having to send my brother or my sister or her coming around to the park to get me from playing football. So fast forward 20 odd years, I don't see no difference between that behaviour and my ex-wife telling me that you can't have a drink and me kicking off.
That's kind of interesting, because like a lot of people, when they come into recovery, like one of the first questions is like, do you think you've always been an addict? And or can you identify like that moment you became an addict? I guess for you it was like, looking back, you can say it was fairly early on then.
Well, I can definitely pinpoint now the obsession and compulsion of an addiction, but I won't be able to sort of say, obviously at that age, but just fast forward a few more years, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things attached, I believe, to a life in addiction, I found out at a very young age that when I put a substance inside myself, it helps me escape from stuff that's happened to me as a child. And I had my first sexual experience at 8 years old, which just absolutely fried my head for the rest of my life, really, in the fact that it was a girl that was a bit older than me, a year older than me, and we just went round the back of some garages and she asked me to do some stuff. And then as you become a man of the world and you start understanding what life's about and the birds and the bees, and then it just sort of like your mind takes you back to that time and it makes you just wonder, well, how did you know how to do that stuff at that age? And then it just starts making you wonder and think, wow, what must have happened to you? Because I knew the girl, I knew, we all lived up on the same estate and just that sort of stuff. But then, that was just that I can't say it affected me at that point in time in my life. But then when I got to about 12 years of age, and another sort of thing that I've noticed within my recovery, and we do hear a lot of it said, I don't know whether you'll relate to this, but I would imagine you will, because I hear so many addicts, alcoholics relate to it in the fact that, we've never sort of really found a place and tried to fit in and tried to relate, and the identity, I've had that many identities through my life. It's been crazy. And that once again was right from childhood. Two different gangs. I know we both went to the same schools together and that, a few years apart, but there was always two gangs when, like, growing up. And I used to flip between the two because I couldn't ever find,
I can relate to that, man.
You know what I mean? I always had different sets of mates all the way through my life. And but then when I got to 12 years of age and I started hanging around on Shelley Recce a lot more, and I started seeing all the skinheads and the punks of the late 70s and early 80s, once again, I just had that need that I wanted to fit in. I had to fit in. And, it's still the same today, even in recovery, you know what I mean? We're only go back a year, and this for me is how this thing will manifest itself in different, there's so many different, we hear people say, when we're in recovery, it's a simple program for complicated people. And, that is just so true, because we can complement for stuff so much, but I believe that addiction's got that many levels, and the behaviours of addiction have got that many levels that make it complicated. Such as your people pleasing, you're wanting to fit in, you know what I mean, and the obsessions, the denial, the compulsion, and all these little bits and bobs that attach itself to an addictive person. And I can remember only just a year ago when I brought my bike and I was riding just up the back here, up out the outwards, and it was early in the morning, and I was coming down here and I seen another geezer coming the other way on a bike, and I'd only got my trackies on like this, and as I sees this guy coming, I'm like, right mate, and he didn't acknowledge me, nothing.
Yeah.
Straight away, that like, what? I know, it's because I ain't got no lycra. I need lycra, I need Repsol across me.
Okay.
I've got to fit in. You know what I mean? And I did, and I went out and I brought lycra, I brought the riding shorts, brought it, and then next thing you know, I'm out on the, boom, I get away, that's it, I'm in the club.
Yeah.
For me, that's been my life, that's been part of my addiction, and that's how it was at 12 years of age. I needed to fit in with this gang, the skinheads, the punks, and just that whole, just wanting to be a part of, and I struggled with that. And then around about that time, one of the lads who was a couple of years older than me, I suffered a bit of abuse, sexually and physically. And like I say, I'd already had a bit of a fag and, a cap full of cider. Nothing, just normal trial stuff. Like, oh no, I can't, go on. Ended up going green. So But then I can remember one of the lads that I was hanging around with at this time, because I always wanted to know where these kids, where these older lads were going and girls, because they used to go off up the cemetery, up Shelford, and round the back of Shelley shops, and I was fascinated. Why can't I come? But I wanted to know. I needed to know. And then one of the lads that I was hanging around with was a couple of years older than me, and it was his brother and the gang that was a bit older than them. And he says, come round the house one day. And come round the house. I know my brother and sister, my brother and all the mates and his sister were going in that. And I went round and he pulled a tin of Evo stick out. And, it's glue sniffing. And I had my first sniff of glue. And, I firmly believe that my addict, if he weren't already there, he definitely came to the forefront. He definitely got woke up when he had that first sniff of glue.
It's weird, like that thing about, you say you want to know what the older kids are up to and stuff. That's something I've kind of felt that a lot all my life, I think. Like a desire to know what's going on. And like, are they doing something that's better than what I'm doing? And if I find out that they are, then it's always been, I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
It's weird, yeah. I think it's a common thing amongst us.
I think it is, and even I can identify with that stuff all the way through my life, and in the fact that my mum always used to say, even when through my teenage years and stuff and that. She always used to say, I can remember she used to say it to my dad, because my dad, I loved my dad to bits. He died a couple of years back, but I loved my dad to bits. But my mum always used to say, because he went pub every single night in my childhood, but she always used to say to us, and just a saying that I could adopt to that, you always think you're missing out on something.
Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
And that was the same all the way through, If I knew the lads was just like going down the pub just for a couple, and because I got into the sort of like a relationship early. I got into sort of like a lot of my mates were all travelling while I was like married and my son. But when anybody went out and that, and if they were going out on a Saturday dinner, and obviously I'd got to do the dad thing and the thingy thing. You know what I mean? It'd come out in my behaviours, because it'd be like, oh, what's up with you? Nothing. Well, it is, because everyone's out and you're not out. No, I'm bothered. What a crock of shit. Absolute crock of shit. Yeah. Inside I'm going, I just want to be down there, because I think I'm missing out.
Yeah.
And I suppose that is that behaviour attached and that thinking attached to when I was a kid.
What about, sorry.
So go on.
What about with family, like you mentioned, like your dad used to like going to a pub. I mean, for me, like, my family don't really drink. They, we'd always have Sunday lunch or whatever, and they might have a glass of wine each. And I think from when I was fairly young, they were like, you can have half a glass of wine or whatever. And even now, I can remember thinking, I looked forward to that. But what about, a lot of people say sometimes it runs in the family, whether that's genetic or just like learned behaviour. What do you think about that?
Well, when because I don't want to keep jumping too much, but when I came into recovery, and I ended up going to treatment. There was a chap in the treatment centre that used to run it, and he used to do a couple of teachings on like nature or nurture, And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but you know what? I have to look at experience, and I have to look at what's gone on within my life, and I often share about it in fellowship meetings. That when I was growing up, when I was that 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid or whatever it was, and I was like in Shelley Club, and it weren't just me, it weren't just my dad, it was just the way it was, it was everybody. You know what I mean? You'd have the disco going on in the big concert room, and you'd like be running in and out, and your dad'd be like, have a bit of mild, son, put hairs on your chest, Yeah. that sort of stuff, and then you'd run back into the disco, have a bit of a boogie in that, a bit of a smooch, and then run back, that's some more, Dad, yeah, you know. And I often think to myself now, how much has that contributed to my alcoholism? You know, and I'm not blaming my daddy in that, because I take onus for my own actions. But you know, the baby's dummy in the whisker to help it sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are questions I ask today. You know what I mean? Because I've suffered a lifetime of alcoholism, and I'd like to see where it come from, and I don't know. But it's them sort of behaviours, you know, that kind of like make me wonder. You know, could it have been different? But just you know, I just know. I mean, there's so many levels that I can attach it to. I mean, just that whole sort. I've just wrote a poem called Parental Guidance. You know, and that's all about that stuff. You know, Daddy, what's that thing that you do? How come it's not okay for me, but it's okay for you? You know, and that bit that, you know, brought up in the fag smoke. Have a drink of this, son. It'll put hairs on your chest. But don't let me catch you smoking or drinking, because I'll give you 6 of the best. You know, just that confusion. Well, hold on a minute.
It's mad though, isn't it? Because like, we're both dads now, and I know your son's like a teenager, and my little girl's like 3, so maybe I've got a bit more time to worry about it. But I don't know what I'm going to do when she's like 14, 15 and goes out and gets pissed. Or whether she will. I don't know.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm it's going to sound weird. I mean, my boy's got autism and that, and he struggles in that sort of like social environment and stuff and this and that. So, and he's been. I heard him talking because we had a thing last week where he was speaking with a doctor for a good couple of hours or so, and he mentioned, you know, alcohol and drugs at school, and my boy's like, no, you know, you just don't, you know what I mean?
Don't want to know.
Just don't enter his head.
Yeah.
You know, he's happy with his gaming and thing. He don't. So, I don't think I've got any worries around that way. But you know, I've just wrote a poem called "Everyone Knows Me," and I believe addiction. It don't matter whether it's substances, drink, drugs, or whatever. You know, addiction touches everybody. You know, it touches everybody. You know what I mean? My lad's got a massive gaming problem. You know, that's all he does.
Yeah.
But you know, and he listens to his music, but that's for his autism and stuff. But you know, I know people that their lives seem all together and that. But you know, I've got one of my best mates. He done exactly what I done, but with gambling.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen people in recovery, and this ain't aimed at nobody, and I think if anybody's watching this, you'll know what I mean. But I know people in recovery that you know what I mean, they're absolute brilliant, but they've got like oodles and oodles of pairs of trainers.
That's a common one, actually.
You know, it is for a lot of people. You know what I mean? I brought 2 pairs in one day. Well, within 24 hours, I brought a pair of trainers, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, the next minute I'm looking at a website with somebody else, and I see another pair of trainers. I'm like, wow, they're beautiful. If I hadn't brought them, I'd have brought them. And this is where how it works for me, how addiction and the obsession and the compulsion works for me, because I've already used.
Yeah.
I've already brought a pair of trainers, yeah? I see another pair.
They might be better though.
Yeah. I'm obsessing. Yeah. And the obsession don't leave me. I wake up, and this is a true story, and this only happened just before Christmas. And I wake up at 5:30 the next morning. Yeah. So I've already used, and the compulsion's still on me. And at 5:30 in the morning, I find myself, on the internet, buying this next pair of trainers.
Mental, right?
And why is that? Because it's this thing called instant gratification. I want it, and I want them now.
Yeah.
I want it. I want it, and I want it now. You know, and that's a lot of the stuff for me, and that's the way it works. And you know, going back to being a kid and all the stuff that I suffered, that, you know, the way I see it is that, you know, when I was a young kid and all that stuff, and I had that first sniff of glue, and I believe my addict came to the forefront, because I was a full-blown solvent addict from the age of 12 up to sort of like 15 and a half, 16. You know what I mean? The Tipex, you know, gas, solvents, pledge, petrol, all that stuff.
Oh.
And the way I always put it now with my share and testimony is, pardon me, that at a young age I got made a promise. I got sold a contract, you know, by my addict, by my addiction. You know, I'm a born again Christian as well, and I use a language that's universal in that sort of way. Your addict, your illness, your disease, the devil, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you, whatever you want to call it. But I got sold a contract, and things happened through your life, and I attach it, and I met little analogies of stuff. And it weren't long ago, only like a year or so ago, that I got a new tablet and a phone. And basically the geezer in the shop looked at my contract and he says, "Oh, you got your broadband with us as well?" And I'm like, yeah. He said, "I can do you a brilliant deal on your broadband while you're in shop." Cut a long story short, he didn't do me a great deal. It ended up costing me an extra 35 quid a month because he took some off the deal that I'd already got.
Yeah.
Right, so I complained. I rang EE and basically said, "Did you read your email?" And I went, "Well, no, I don't think I needed to." The thing is, she said, "Well, you should have read the email and then read the small print sort of stuff." As soon as you said read the small print, I just sat with that, got a bit of resentment, and as I was dealing with a resentment, this sort of an analogy came to me that, you know what, when I was 12 years of age, addiction, my addict sold me a contract, yeah, and I was like, wow, and within this contract I'm going to give you peace, yeah, I'm going to help you be somebody you don't want to be. I'm going to help you be somebody that you do want to be. I'm going to help you escape. I'm going to help you fit in. I'm going to give you everything that you ever want. All you need to do is just keep taking me.
Yeah.
And that's the promise. Yeah. But the thing is, yeah, right, fast forward 30-something years, and I'm stood here now and I'm going, you tosser. You know, you've just took my house, you've just took my wife, you've just took my son, you've just took all this. Why you didn't think it? He said, "Did you read the small print?" And when I was 12 years old, I didn't read no small print.
No.
I didn't know when I was taking that first sniff of glue that it was going to cost me my wife, my son, my house.
Yeah.
He never informed me of that stuff. He never told me that, you know what, every single day of my life I wouldn't be present in my son's life. I'd be there, but I wouldn't be present. When he's picking stuff up off a stage, his scouts or clubs or whatever it was, you know what I mean, and he's thinking, I've got the ex-wife going, "Oh, look at him up there, don't he make you proud?" And you're going, yeah, I've got a great big massive bifter in the ashtray at home and 8 cans of beer, I can't wait to get home.
Yeah.
That's addiction for me.
Yeah.
That's addiction. You know, you're there but you're never present.
Yeah, I've done a lot of that myself.
No. And it's a bitter pill to swallow sometimes when you look back. But, you know, that's why we're in recovery now, to making amends for that stuff, you know. And if I can just be as open thing, you know what I mean, that's why when I see people like you, mate, and you know, you've got a young girl that's got a life ahead of you, and she don't even ever have to know, you know, and that's why when I see people come into the treatment centre where I work, and they've got young kids, you know, sort of like anywhere between 1 and 5 and 6, and I'll just say, you know what, they're young enough to forget.
Yeah, you got a chance.
You know, young enough to forget, whereas, you know, my boy was like 9, 10, you know, and he's seen it all. And I think, I don't know, I think I shared about it the other night, because I think there was a reading in the meeting last Thursday, weren't there, about responsible and responsibilities, and this whole thing of denial, you know, that level of denial where, you know, I'd split up with my boy's mum, you know, and then just because I had my son every single weekend,
yeah, you think you're doing
I'm
the
responsible.
Job, yeah.
Well, I'm not like all the other dads. I'm not your typical alcoholic addict. I'm responsible, I'm having my boy.
Mm.
But then yet again, you know what? Who brought my son up? Who brought my son up? I'll tell you who brought my son up. Sony. and Nintendo.
Yeah.
And all these people that make game stations and stuff.
Yeah.
That's who brought my son up. And I can be honest about that today, and it hurts sometimes, and it does hurt me sometimes.
Mm.
But you know what? It was so much easier for me to bang my son in front of a games console while I was in the kitchen snorting cocaine with lads, thinking that I'm a Jack the Lad. You know what I mean? Younger lads that are coming round, you know, like a couple of dealers that I knew, like real smart, trendy lads driving around in BMWs. And why is that again? Because I wanted to fit in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They were stroking my ego because I thought I was this like Jack the Lad and stuff and this and all that lot. Just all that stuff. And that level of denial that rode in me constantly, thinking that, you know, I'm doing a good job here because I'm having my son every weekend, letting my ex-wife go out and lead her life even though we're not thinking. But theoretically it was all a crock of crap.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I let my son see me piss nearly every single day of his childhood up until 9-10 years of age, you know. And when I put it like that, you know what I mean, it can hit you sometimes. I let my son see me pissed every day.
It's just one of them guilt things that we have to deal with, I guess.
Yeah, well, and that's the beauty of a 12-step program. That's the beauty of my faith. That's the beauty, you know, like I've said, I've got a massive faith, and I believe all that stuff has been paid for. You know, I believe all that stuff has been paid for, but, you know, I mean, I come out of my solvent years.
Yeah, let's just go back to that. So you did the like punk scene, the gangs sort of thing, solvents,
Body popping, breakdancing, BMXing.
Well, I was going to come
Oh,
on
all
as
that
well.
stuff.
Then I know you were pretty big on the rave scene for a bit, right?
But I wouldn't say I was massive, but I used to go. I went to a few of the big raves that started, Fantasia, Book of Love and things like that. But you know what, if I'm truthful and honest, I mean, I come out of the solvents, and then, like I say, I can pinpoint stuff now, and I pinpointed the fact that my drinking was different right from the get-go when, just round here, just at the corner, I went to somebody, a lad, I won't say his name, a lad that I went to school with, and I'd gone to a birthday party, because that's the posh end up there. I lived in the Shelley end over there, and went to the posh end up there. His garage was bigger than the whole bottom of my frigging house. That's no word of a lie. The circumference of my house at the bottom, the kitchen, the front room, toilet and everything, his garage was bigger than that. And so we'd gone up there for a party, and I think I was about 15 and a half, something like that. And I got asked by the mother, me and a lad called Darren, if we'd keep an eye on the kids coming in and out, going toilet, because we were the most sensible. And I was like, right. And I brought a bottle of cider and a can of Skull 1080. And I can remember I drank the Skull 1080 on the way up. So there's an indication. I hadn't even waited till I got to the party. I drank the can on the way, you know.
Pre-drink started it when you woke up.
Yeah. This is the thing. And see, that's another thing that I say to people now when I'm doing teachings in the rehab and that. I never drank at parties. I drank to go to the party.
Yeah.
I didn't take drugs in the town. I took drugs. I was always the one in the toilet doing the quick line of cocaine while people was like waiting in the test. Where is it? Because I needed that to get me in there, because I suffered from social awkwardness, and I still do. But I was at this party and they asked if we could just like be like doorman sort of thing, and I'm like thinking, yeah, great. Well then, like I say, pinpointing your alcoholism. I mean, because for me, an alcoholic, it's not somebody that drinks every day so much. It's somebody that as soon as they start drinking, that's it, the Pringles person comes out of him. Once he's popped, he's not stopping until he drinks to oblivion. That for me, that's my level of alcoholism anyway. and I opened this cider, and I instantly, literally within half hour, I went from one of the most sober kids there, stopping people from going toilet, to having to be took home within half hour.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, and then weren't long after that, I'd gone out with my brother and everybody. I'd stopped hanging around with all the kids and the skinheads and that, and because I just didn't. I wanted to stop glue sniffing because of the way it was like sending my life and stuff. And I'd gone out with my brother and all his mates into the riverside of Barrow-upon-Soar. You know, we used to go over there. We used to get all the posh girls go over there, and, you know, Bull's Head at Woodhouse, and get all the posh girls, you know. Council estate kid trying to pull a posh girl and that, you know. Bit of a notch on your belt and stuff. Well, anyway, I had my first drink over there, sort of like in a pub outside the care of my mum and dad, if you get what I'm saying. I'm with my brother and all his mates and that, and blah, blah, blah. And as soon as the picture, I was at the bottom of the pint, and they was still on the neck.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's the next one? So right from the get-go, my drinking was different.
Mm.
And then, you know, after that, we sort of like moved in, I started work, and then I got a different set of mates again. So I'd got my mates at school, and then I'd got the skinhead singer, and then I'd got this, and then I started hanging around with my brother, and then I started hanging around with the lads from work, and then I started hanging around with lads that knew people from work. So all these different sets of mates constantly. And then by the time I was like 17, 18, you know, I was hanging around with some of the toughest lads this town's ever seen, you know. Some lads that worked the door. I was going football, you know, football violence and stuff, and then drugs came in. Acid. I can remember the first night I took acid. It was just wow. I revelled in that shit, man. Revelled in it. I mean, I work in a rehab now, and I talk to addicts and alcoholics and stuff all together, and heroin addicts, crack addicts, and, you know, I mean, I've never done heroin. I've never done smack. And I can look at heroin and go, ooh, like that. But when I'm talking about my past, and I'm talking to an heroin addict, and I'm mentioning mushrooms and acid, and an heroin addict's going, oh, I hated that stuff. I'm not going, what? Really? You're a smackhead? What do you mean? Surely you mustn't know. And that's because I can't identify with what smack does to you. I can't, you know. But acid and mushrooms, wow. Pink elephants coming out of the walls at me. I revelled in that shit. I loved it, you know. And then speed and the pills, you know. I used to love it, you know, when you used to like be like, you know what I mean, you'd be in a club and somebody would just come up and rub a Vicks vapor rub on your back, and then just like do that, and you'd be like, used to love all that stuff. But if I'm going to be truthful and honest about it all, you know, the football violence, the raves, the club scene, the DJs, the music, the getting ready, because that's the excitement of getting stuff and going out, and the whole build up to the thing. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. But where was my forte? Where was I happiest the most? I was happy the most in the after party mong. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me. Just knowing that I've got a beer full of fridge, I've got a bag full of weed, I've got personal popping pills in my back pocket that no one knows about, powder, and I can just sit, mong, and just get absolutely twatted. That was me. It weren't about the clubs, it weren't about the raves, it was about getting off my head. But at the end of it all, what was it actually about? It was about escape.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, the event itself is so often a letdown.
Yeah.
Only in our heads. Everyone else might have the best night ever. You know, I can't think of a good New Year's I've ever had. Like, I've always there's been like a party or whatever, and I get pissed like from that morning, you know, because it's New Year's Eve. So it's an excuse. I'd do it on my own. You know, whoever I was with at the time would be like, just having a normal day, I'd be like, no, it's New Year's Eve, so it's got to be all day drinking. Oh, you don't want to do it with me? Fine, I'll do it on my own. You know? And by the time I get to the party, it's like I'm hammered, so I'm probably making a twat of myself. No one really wants to talk to you, but you feel like you want to talk to everyone. And you've got really interesting shit to say. And I can't remember hardly ever seeing like midnight on New Year's Eve, for example, because I'd be passed out by then, and then I'd wake up like 4 o'clock when everyone else is finishing and going home, and that's my favourite bit because I feel rough. I know what will fix it. Just do some more, and then that's that week wiped out then, isn't it?
Definitely. And that's all see the amount of stuff that I've learnt just by like doing a step 4, looking at my behaviours, but looking at my life and identifying stuff and being honest with myself within my behaviours and within my life and I just couldn't grasp how, after a Saturday night out and it was getting to sort of like 8, 9 in the morning and people are starting to come out with words like, all right, I'm going home, I'm going to bed, I'm like, well, what's up with you? And just never, ever, 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 ever did I want that to stop. And it just used to absolutely cripple me. You know what I mean? I was always the one that, if the missus was like, right, come on, we're going, if we were around someone else's house. And I'd be like, it used to cause arguments. And just all that stuff, It's like if anybody, it's the same with you. If somebody says to me, Stuart, do you want a biscuit? I'll go, no, I want 4. I don't understand the concept of one, and that whole thing about the wife, the ex-wife. It would be so much easier if she'd say, don't have any, don't drink tonight. That's easier for me to compute in here, because the way it used to work with me is if she'd say just get 4, you know what I mean? As soon as I opened that first one, the fears started. The fears on me. Because I know I'm going to be drinking the 2, drinking the 3, and it's the same with anything. And then before, when I'm starting on the 4, and I'm thinking, oh no, bollocks, man, we've got a fridge full of milk. The dog's been walked. You know what I mean?
Excuse,
where's my excuse going to come from? You know what I mean? We need some gravy granules for Sunday, but it's only Tuesday. Well, you've got to get them in early, ain't you, girl? You know what I mean? Get your granules early. Just
There's
anything to try. Yeah, this is an offer on. You know what I mean? I've got to get down there. Anything to try and get out, but and just all that level of deceit, the secrecy, just. Wow, it's just mad.
Yeah.
Going in the shed for something because you know that you've stashed 4 beers. I've literally stashed beers a couple of days before and just left them in there because in the week she's going to be on one.
Yeah.
She's going to be on one.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to get out. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do. So I've got stuff, and we used to have a summer house, and we used to have a settee. I used to put stuff underneath there. You know what I mean? And
I had an allotment.
Yeah.
Like, according to, well, in my mind, my wife thought I was Alan fucking Titchmarsh. I was like the greatest gardener in the world.
Yeah.
And the amount of produce I must have been growing because I was up there all the time. But like, I often wonder what happened to like the person who took it over and found all the Smirnoff bottles.
Wow.
I left one patch of brambles and it was just like glass. So. Yeah. But I think, like after all that, I kind of want to get into the time you started looking at recovery, because I know that was like a massive thing, wasn't it? Like you hit rock bottom and you hit hard. from what I remember.
Defo, you know.
Sorry, that's a dog, not me.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said earlier on, you know, when my addict made me a promise and that, and he never told me, you know, because my ex-wife always used to say something to me. She always used to say, "Stuart, if I ever say to you, I don't care." See, because, you know, I have to own my part in everything, and like I keep saying, there's so much that I've learned, and you know, when we're in addiction, when we're in that level of addiction, we do take prisoners. You know, we do take prisoners within our own cell of addiction. And I firmly believe that, you know what, there was a day where my ex-wife flung her arms up and just says, you know what, if I can't beat him, I might as well join him. You know, I'm willing to own my stuff in it. There was times when she'd say, you know, that's it, we've got to stop, we're not doing it no more. And basically, yeah, that'd be great. And then the weekend had come and she'd say, shall we just get a couple of pills? You know what I mean? I was an addict. I wasn't going to say, no, you said we're not getting none.
Yeah.
You know?
She wasn't like twisting your arm.
No, it weren't as if that I needed persuading, you know, and all this stuff. But it got to the point where, you know, because of the abuse that I suffered, and I didn't tell anybody, I didn't speak about it. You know, depressions came on, anxiety came on, debts. I had massive debts. When I came into recovery, I had 130 grand's worth in debt. 130 grand. And you know why was 130 grand in there? Another part of an addictive addict behaviour, people pleasing and wanting to be Jack the Lad and the ego and all that lot, you know. We used to have like barbecues and stuff, and we'd be like, don't worry about it, fucking we got it covered. We can't just have sausage. Every time we do this, literally every time, right, we'll just have sausage and burgers, that's it. Tell them to bring their own sausage and burgers, boom, boom, boom. By the time Saturday come round, we'd got marinated steak, we'd got all this sort of stuff, goujons, and you know what I mean, like 70-80 quid's worth of food or whatever it were, yeah. And you'd boom, 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 all this stuff, and then next minute, you know, so your guests would arrive and they'd come with Charlie already. And you're just like, wow, you know what I mean? Nobody's even picked up a cheese stick, and that's it, we're on the pills, we're on the thingy, and all the food just gets wasted. People get twatted, people fall over, wreck your gazebo, we'll just buy another one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, just everything going on credit cards, boom, 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 boom. But she used to say, if I ever say to you, I've had enough, that's it, and I don't care. And then it got to the point, like I say, depressions, anxieties, mounting debt, me constantly drinking, you know. And then one day I was off work, and I basically, I was off, I've been off work for a few months because I had an hernia, and I had complications after the operation. And when I went back to work, and I used to drive a petrol tanker, so I earned over £1,000 a week. I was on some good money. And this is the thing, I mean, if I can go all faith on you, you know what I mean, the Bible says that, you know what I mean, a person can gain the world but lose the soul, you know, and that's what was happening. Because theoretically I was looking around, I had 2 cars, I had a house, a beautiful wife, a son, earning over £1,000 a week, and I thought everything were hunky-dory. But you know what, I was absolutely broken inside. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where my identity lay. I never knew who I was from dot one, you know, always searching, always asking. I think there's 3 main questions that we ask ourselves as human beings: who am I, why am I here, and where am I going, you know. And I used to ask myself this all the time: why has this stuff happened to me? Why has that happened to me? Why is this world like this? Blah, 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 all this stuff. Well, anyway, I just, like, one day when I got back to work on light duties, I was on my way home and I'd just been paid, and I thought to myself, you know, I need to do something to lighten up. the marriage, because you know there was just a cloud over us all the time. So I went into the travel agents on the way home, and I just had a look, and I seen this holiday, and I thought, wow. And I just turned 40, and I seen this holiday, and it was flying out to a place called Club Mac, a great big water park, and my son's name's Mackenzie, and it was flying out on his 10th birthday, and it was 180 quid for the deposit, which I had literally about 180 quid spare, and over what I needed for the bills, and it was the last child place. And I just saw, you know, even though, you know, I believed in God all my life, but I never had a relationship with Jesus Christ then, you know, but I thought this was from God. Just turned 40, and I'm literally saying to myself, thank you, life begins at 40, here we go, boom. And I went home, and I gave her the booking form, and she just looked at it, and she said, I don't want to go. And I said, why not? She says, I just don't want to go. What you booked it for? I said, do you know what, look at somewhere else. And she just looked at me, and she just went, Stuart, I don't care. And she left me the next day. You know, she walked out, she left me the next day and took my son. And this is, you know, the level of addiction, and I believe my calling is today, I think everybody's calling that's come out of an addiction is to try and explain what we suffer from as addicts and alcoholics, because you know what, it ain't fun. I mean, I have to admit, you know, people say, it's your choice. It is my choice if I get recovery, but until somebody tells me how to get free of that daily drinking, that daily using, and helps me do that, you know, I don't believe I've got a choice. Because, you know, I watched the woman that I loved walk out of my house with my son, get in the back of the car, he was crying. She drove up the road, and the first thing I done was picked up a can of beer. You know, first thing I done was picked up a can of beer, and then after 20 minutes I rang my mate, my dealer, and I said, she's left me. And he said, do you want to come round? And I went, yeah. He said, shall I rack 'em up? And I said, yeah. You know, I firmly believed that, you know, my addict threw his arms in the air then and just said, yeah, I've got you, you twat. You've tried to suppress me all these years with, like, relationships and stuff. I'm an honest man today, and I can honestly say that if I weren't married for all them years, and if I didn't have all these relationships and these friendships and stuff, you know what I mean, I don't know, you know, we say in the fellowships, don't we, jails, institutions or death, I'd have done all three of them by now.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I mean, I wasn't a good husband or a good dad, you know, but I think in terms of being a good addict, you know, like if I didn't have those relationships, yeah, I'd have, yeah, I can't see myself. I certainly wouldn't be in recovery now, you know, and I couldn't have gone on much longer. So, yeah, even though like we didn't appreciate those relationships, I think they probably kept us a little bit straighter than if we hadn't have had them.
Kept us alive, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
Kept us alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm you know, I'm at no bones. I'm at no bones about the you know, how hard it is to get out of addiction, you know. And like I've said a few times, I work in recovery now, and sorry, that's my phone. Sorry about that. And I work in recovery now, and I've got every bit of empathy and every bit of compassion for the suffering addict, you know. But as I sit here now, and I don't know how a lot of people might feel about this, but as I sit here now, you know, with everything that I've done within my recovery and that now, that, you know, and I broke that denial, I broke through the denial, I broke the obsession, and I don't suffer with compulsion no more, because them two things have been removed from me. And if I'm not taking drink and drugs, I'm not going to suffer compulsion anymore. And you know, I don't obsess every day, and I'm certainly not in a denial, because I know I can't pick a drink up, I can't pick a drug up. But there'd be only one reason only why I'd relapsed today, and that's because I've been fucking selfish. I've been selfish, and I just wanted to sort me out and sort myself out, because, you know, I've just come through 2 absolutely horrendous years, you know. I mean, after my wife left, you know, I never realised life could get so dark. When I mean dark. And I spent time in that house. You know, I went from living in an absolute beautiful house to living in squalor, not showering, you know, drinking behind, well, I was already drinking behind the wheel, you know, drinking and snorting cocaine behind the wheel at work, all this stuff, you know, going home and listening to the saddest songs I could find on YouTube, and I used to call them self-harming songs. You know, your Graham Torrington late night love shit. You know what I mean? You know, it's one of the favourites. I don't know if anybody wants to Google it, but is it thingy to Christina Train, Dark Black? Now it's, all the colours are gone. It's dark black since you've been gone. And I used to listen to that over and over and over again. And it's just basically like using a song as a knife and just stabbing it in my heart and just slashing myself. Just wanting to make myself feel, just persecuting myself constantly in my kitchen. I lived in my kitchen. That song was actually made for me, you know. That 80s, always find him in the kitchen at parties. That was wrote for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just used to be in the kitchen all the time.
Yeah, me too. That's where the bar was. And,
Yeah,
all the clean, smooth surfaces.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of cooking, you know what I mean? Any good look, his brilliant husband does a lot of cooking, but he's weren't for the fact that it's just you know what I mean? You could disguise 3 or 4 cans when cooking a meal.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's
spot on.
There was always a motive to it. Always a motive to it. But yeah, life just got really dark, and I ended up losing my house. I got a flat that lasted 3 months. I lost that. And I lost my job. I ended up back at my mum and dad's. I ended up back in the room where it all began. I got abused in that room. You know, and I just come full circle. And you know, I can remember what was the rock bottom defining me. I mean, I had, you know, see, a lot of people think, you know, these rock bottoms. I mean, I know I don't want to go too much because people think it, but I've seen people go around that have lost limbs and lost this and that through using substances, and you'd think, there's your rock bottom, and then they keep going, you know. I know people that have lost brothers, fathers, mothers, and you think there's your rock bottom, but they keep going. And people say that, you know, it's a choice. Bollocks. In fact, I'll go even further and say, fuck off. You know, my wife and my son had gone, but you know what, I still couldn't stop putting cocaine and drink inside me, you know. Towards the end of my using, I'd lost all control of my bodily functions. I was shitting myself. I'd pooed myself in front of my mum and dad. You know, I took my dad to the hospital once, and I can remember he doing messing about at the counter, and I got annoyed. I got knocked, as you do when you're an addict using. You ain't got time for nothing but drinking and using. And so I said, I'm going to the car. And I went out to the car, and I had a fag, and like I say, I used to pray I used to call the belly god. Because I had a fag, and then like at that point in time, because of my using, if I had the feeling that I needed toilet, I had second, it weren't right, I'll go in a minute. I needed toilet, and I needed it now. And I had a drag of a fag, and I felt that feeling coming on. I was like, oh no, please no. Too late. And my mum and dad come walking out the hospital at Loughborough, and they seen the 40-something-year-old son, half naked, in a car park, trying to put his hoodie over his legs to act as a pair of jogging bottoms. Chucked my jogging bottoms away, and I drove home stinking of my own shit in the car. And I walked upstairs. We didn't say a word on the way home. Didn't say a word. And I walked upstairs. I got in the shower, in the bath, because we got a bath shower. And I can only describe it, and I hope this ain't too graphic for people, but you know when you see these scenes where people get raped and they're just sitting there thinking, and the water's just dripping on them. Yeah. That's the scene. That is the scene. I was literally slumped in the corner of the bath, in shame, in guilt, in all this stuff. I just messed myself in front of my mum and dad. And I got done, I got up, got out of the shower, went in the bedroom, got dressed, and you know what? That obsession was there. And I went out and I'd done it all again. You know? I'd lost complete... I couldn't afford cocaine anymore because I'd lost my job. I'd threatened to kill my cocaine dealer anyway, because he wouldn't let me have no more stuff. And I started hitting cocodamol, dihydrocodone, anything I could get out of the doctors, Nurofen, paracetamols, just whacking anything inside me. And like I say, I started pooing blood, sicking blood. And this is the thing, when people say, oh, it's your choice, is it? Right, okay. So I've just literally, like, threw up proper blood. Yeah, messed myself out the other end. Like you got stuff coming out your eyes. You know what it's like, that dry retching and all that sort of stuff. And my best thinking is, if I keep that down, I'll be alright. I'll make me better. When it's that stuff that's killing me. It's that stuff that's killing me. But my denial says that's the cure. That's the fix.
Yeah, that's what we all have, don't we? I mean, some people say it's a disease where the cause and the cure in our heads are the same thing. Yeah. And,
it's the only illness that tells you that you've not got it.
Yeah.
Keep going, you're alright.
Yeah.
You know? But then, where was my rock bottom? I had my boy one Sunday, and it was middle of summer, and I was drowning in pity, you know, for all this stuff that had happened to me as a kid. Pity, shame, guilt, everything, blame, you know, escapism, you know, just racked in it. I was yellow. Hospital visits, all this stuff, you know. I used to go out at whatever time in the morning. I was sleeping on the streets by then, even though I weren't homeless. I used to sleep in the car parks I had down in the woods up near my sister's and stuff, and you know, all this sort of thing. And I can remember this Sunday I had my boy, and I said, right, I'm going shop, so, and I only lived just round the corner from Bargain Booze, so he knew how far the shop were. Literally 2 minutes, if that, 2 minute walk, if that. And I went and brought 8 cans of beer. I was robbing off my mum and dad by then, robbing Tesco's blind. You know, Tesco, they used to have the little bottles of vodka like that, and they didn't used to put, I better get in trouble for this, but they didn't used to put the security tags on them. And obviously it's a lot easier to nick a little bottle of vodka than it is to 12 cans or 8 cans or whatever. So I was robbing them. And I went in one day, and they must have like been doing stock takes and realised that they were having loads of these bottles go missing. And I'd gone in, and they said, and they'd put security tags on it.
Worst day of your life.
And I kicked off.
Yeah.
I kicked off in the aisle. I was going, it's not fair, you can't do that. It's not fair. But anyway, I bought this beer this Sunday, and I walked out the shop, and I literally said, I looked up, and it was beautiful. Beautiful summer's day. Absolute glorious. So this would have been July. end of June. It'd have been end of June, so end June. And I just looked and you know what? In this beautiful day, I literally went, I just want to find a piece of grass, sit on it, and I just want to drink these cans and just sit in my pity. Just want to be by myself.
Mm.
And I went and I sat on the traffic island at McDonald's in Shelford, and I drank a few cans, and I'd already been drinking. And I ended up falling asleep on the traffic island, and a cop has come and woke me up. Somebody called the police and come and woke me up. And I went home and I realised that I'd left my son on his own for nearly an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever it was. And it dawned on me then, even though it should have dawned on me years and years and years before, but it did hit me like a freight train that every care for my son was being ripped out of me. I weren't bothered about his feelings or anything, because you were asking my mum and dad, where's my dad, where's my dad? He's only gone short, why's my dad not come back, where's my dad? Where was I? I was off drinking, you know. And then that following Thursday, because I used to drive around everywhere drunk, the following Thursday after I'd finished ferrying my mum about, I used to have the massive ability to be able to drink and drink and drink and be alright. But then as soon as I'd finished my my daily chores of ferrying my mum about to the different various jobs and taking my dad downtown and stuff, you know, so come sort of like 6:30, I'd probably be like drinking all through the day. And then there'd be like an invisible pissed button where as soon as like that was all done dusted, they were like instantly pissed, and I'd be like, bleh, and that's when I'd have to leave the house and go and walk the streets because I couldn't be around people because I'd be just too pissed. And you know, and I'd started as well at that point in time. I'd started to try and like integrate back into sort of like a normal way of drinking. I started going back into the pubs on little bits of occasions, and I come to realise that I couldn't even drink with some of the hardened drinkers of Loughborough. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've got my own little way of looking at it now, like, you know what I mean? You've got what you call your moo cow grazers drinking, yeah? You know, your lads that have stood outside Witherspoons and that at 9 o'clock in the morning waiting for the doors to open, and they're still there at 6, 7, 8 at night. Yeah. Yeah. But they're moo cows. They're grazers. And they just graze all day. Just steady. Still probably alcoholic. You know? No different. But it's just a different way of drinking. Whereas me, I'm a pig trough drinker. I can't go in a pub and just like drink all day. Yeah. Them lads that are probably having 12 pints, you know what I mean, throughout a day, 12, 15 or whatever they're drinking, I don't know, because I've never been able to stay in there that long to find out how many. Yeah. Within an hour and a half, I've drank that quick, that much, that I've had to leave because I can't sit around them because I'm pissed. I need that instant hit, and I believe that's where my alcoholism and my addict can. I don't like to separate stuff because obviously we go to fellowships that say it's all inclusive, but I feel that that's where a separation could come between my alcoholism and my drug misuse, because I'm an addict and I want an instant hit straight away, yeah. So I can't afford to be sitting in a pub for sort of like 10 hours just quietly drinking through the day. Yeah. I'm in there and I'm having 6 pints within an hour and 15 or whatever, and I'm pissed, right, that's it, I'm out of here. Then I can go and start grazing, and that's what I used to do. I'd go in, I'd get pissed, and then I'd just graze for the rest of the day. I'd have 2 cans here, go and drive, do 2 cans there, 4 cans here, 4 cans here, and I'd just graze throughout the day. Yeah. And then come night time, bang, I'd press this button and I'd be just instantly pissed.
Yeah, I think I was kind of similar. Like, I never understood the point of going to the pub unless you were getting twatted, you know, completely mortal. I couldn't understand people going to the pub and having 2 pints. I could never understand beer as a drink. Like physically, it takes me ages to drink a pint,
Mm.
and it fills you up. So then you have to go to the loo all the time.
Mm.
So, like for me, I wine sometimes. I could neck a bottle of wine fairly quick and get a good buzz off that. But then it very quickly just went to spirits.
Mm.
And I used to justify it as being, well, it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
one bottle of Smirnoff versus like 2 cases of beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably better for me. Yeah, I even went from a phase of, Jack Daniels is bad because it's brown, so it's got more impurities in it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's way worse for your liver than vodka, which is, triple distilled. It's practically a health drink in comparison. So yeah, that instant hit, just doing it as quick as possible without wasting time. I was trying to be an efficient alcoholic, both financially and time-wise. It was mental. But you convince yourself that these are all good things. It's a bit like you saying, I thought, maybe if I just get back into pubs. At the time that makes sense. It's not like avoid everything at all costs. It's like, if I just go back into pubs, then maybe that'll be alright.
I couldn't do it.
No.
I just couldn't do it.
No.
No matter how much I tried to sit with some of the ardent drinkers and just, I was, and that don't make me any different. It's just a different, like I say, a different form of drinking. I was doing literally what I was always at least half a pint to a pint in front of him constantly. Yeah. Constant. Boom, boom, boom. But then, so after that Sunday, going back to sort of like getting into thinking, after that Sunday, on the Thursday, I can remember being at home and I'd just like picked my mum up and I think I'd been round, got some bit and I was pissed. I was gone, and I knew I'd got nowhere left to go. I'd had a couple of times when my sister had come round once and I was shaking out the back on a Sunday morning and she just, my mum and dad were like, what's up with him? And I'm like, I'm alright. They went, look at him, what's up with him? And they went inside and my sister just looked at me and she just went, go get a fucking drink. And I just went, oh fuck off, I ain't got no money. And she just gave me a £5 and she went, just go and sort your fucking self out. And I went upstairs and, I sat in the bathroom and once again I started crying. I literally started crying because I just realised that this thing's trying to kill me and I ain't got the power to stop it. Oh, that's hurt. That hurt. And that realisation that I ain't got the power to stop this. When you realise you're killing yourself and you ain't got the power to stop it and then somebody gives you money and they're not giving you money because they want you to drink, they're giving you money because they want to see you to stop the pain, but was it to stop my pain, was it to stop this pain, or was it to stop my mum and dad's pain, or what, I don't know, But that Thursday I can remember I just knew I'd got nothing left, nothing left, and I fell off the bed and I just cried out to God. I just cried, God help me, I'm dying, I'm killing myself. Jesus Christ, can you not just stop me drinking just for one effing day, please? And I just felt a presence enter that room, and within that presence I heard a voice telling me to go to a soup kitchen up the road, up to the Beacon Church, and go and see Swanee. A lad that I grew up with, I used to drink with, and he gave his life to God a while before, and we all took the piss out of him, all of us took the piss out, loads of us. But apparently I'd already been to see him, but I didn't realise that I only got told this after the fact, after I'd been in recovery for a bit, but apparently I'd already gone to see him after I'd been discharged from hospital once. I'd still got all the hospital things on me. And I didn't know none of this.
Mm.
Apparently I pulled up outside his house in my dad's car, got out of the car, walked in the house, left the car running, told him that I need help, and he's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, and he started talking to me about God, and I just said, I don't need your God, I don't need God, rah, 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 rah. And then he says, well, you know, you need to think, he says, and he mentioned about the car, and apparently I said to him, oh, I'm not driving. And he went, you've got your dad's car outside. And I'm like, no, I've walked up.
Car followed.
You know. But anyway, I went to that soup kitchen that night, and see, this is the thing, because I heard a voice within that conscience, within that presence, say to me, go to the soup kitchen, go and see Swanee. And I can remember screaming out, I'm not going up there, I'm pissed as a fart, I'm not going up there. And I just heard a voice again to say, go, you will not be judged. And I've had a few people say to me, you know, that, you know, that was just you in your drunkenness, saying that, you in your drunkenness. And I'm like, what? Okay, well, let's look at the evidence, shall we? Go, you will not be judged. So I've said that to myself in my drunkenness, have I? A person that used to wake up daily wanting to kill himself, suicidal thoughts constantly, because all I was doing was judging myself through the guilt, the shame, the abuse that I took home, all that stuff, the loss of my wife, my son, everything that I'd done, robbing off my mum and dad. And you're telling me that I'm saying, go, you will not be judged, when that's all I was doing constantly, daily, was judging myself, which was compelling me to drink. There's only one place that it could have come from, and that is a caring and loving God. And I went to the soup kitchen, and I walked in, and it was like everybody disappeared, and there was just Swanee there, and he just looked at me and went, come on. And I kept going back every week, just kept going back no matter what state I was in. Did I stop drinking? No, I didn't. I always say, if you believe in God, you've got to believe in the devil. My suicidal thoughts went absolutely ridiculous, you know. I made a noose out of barbed wire. I sat underneath it for 3 days round the back of McDonald's in Shelford. I just kept pouring it around my neck. Didn't really have the guts to do it, but that's the level of pain that I was in. And I went to see Swanee again. He come and he seen the noose and he started crying, and he just says, you know what, you're not safe, we've got to get you away, you're not safe. And I think it was 2 weeks later I ended up in treatment in the Carpenter's Arms. You know, and I went in there, and so I never knew anything about, you know, I'd always believed in God, but I didn't really have a relationship with Jesus Christ. You know, I didn't know anything about recovery. Didn't know nothing really. I just drank. I just took drugs. You know, I knew I'd got this stuff called abuse that used to compel me to do stuff. Thinking about, I didn't realise the complex. I just thought all I need to do is go in there, stop drinking, stop taking drugs, and I'd be alright. I can go back to work. And then I started hearing the stuff about, you know, I mean, you know, Stuart, you know what the problem is, don't you? And I'm, what? You? And I'm like, what? Nah, I just drink. He says, yeah, no, you drink because you're the problem. And I became teachable, and I think one of the first things that I learned was, Stuart, you don't listen. That's your biggest problem, is you're not listening. Because I was saying to a bloke called David Innes that used to run the place, taught me everything I needed to know about recovery through the Word of God. And there was a bloke called David Cross, who ended up being my first sponsor. He taught me everything I needed to know about recovery through the 12 steps and the fellowships. Amazing men, both of them. I owe them so much. And David Innes said, I ran a talk with David Innes one day, and I was just saying to him, in an initial talk, get to know me, and I confessed everything to him, and first time I'd poured my heart out to a stranger. And I just said, you know, the problem is I can't forgive myself. And he says, and that's because you can't. And I says, yeah, you're not listening, that's what I'm telling you, I can't forgive myself. And he went, no, it's you that's not listening, and that's your problem, you're not listening, you don't listen. And I'm like, but I can't forgive myself. And I got angry with him. I said, you're not listening to me, I can't forgive myself. And he went, no, it's you that's not listening. He says, you can't forgive yourself. He says, until you feel forgiveness of God in heaven, then you'll be able to forgive yourself, forgive others, receive forgiveness, and be forgiveness. And I walked out that room different. I just felt different. And then another time, he said, we need to pray and just ask God anything. And I asked God why I was here, and I was in treatment, and I said I didn't want to be here. What have I come to this dump for? I want to go. I want to drink. I want to snort cocaine. I want to smoke weed. I even want to do crack and smack. Yeah, because I've heard all these idiots in here going on about it. Yeah, snowballs and everything. Yeah, glorifying. I said, and this idiot inside here, yeah, he's saying, you ain't never done that, we could go and do that. I know where to get it from now, I just need to go and ask a street person, you know what I mean? And why have I come here? I didn't want to come here, and I just felt that presence again. And I just heard a voice say that you've not come here, I brought you here. And I just argued, and I said to God, why? And God said, because you're worth it. Because you're worth it. And I just broke down. I'd never been told I was worth it by anybody, let alone God. And my life started to change. I became teachable. I started to listen. I started to read the Bible. I started listening to David Cross, and he started to teach me about recovery and all the stuff that I suffered from. I never knew I suffered from an illness. I didn't know. He didn't tell me there was a threefold illness of denial, obsession, compulsion, and the main root of my illness is the fact that I'm a selfish twat. It's a self-centered illness, and I was only thinking of me. And the way he used to speak to me, he used to speak quite blunt to me at times. And this was stuff that I needed. And then Brian Spence that ran the place, you know what I mean. And my best thinking got me into you know, my best behaviours and my best thinking got me into a rehab. And then I go into that rehab, and then I start telling the owner of the rehab how to run the rehab.
This is something I was going to talk to you about, because, like, yeah, there might be some people watching or listening that are maybe thinking of going into rehab. And yeah, I've done rehab myself, and I think mine was a bit shorter than yours. I was 12 weeks, 3 months, and it's that thing, like, you start sobering up, and you get a little bit of knowledge behind you, and all of a sudden you know everything. Like, sometimes people will call, like, the 3-month chip or key ring, the counsellor key ring, you know. And I don't know what it is. Everyone seems to go through that phase when you're in rehab, and like, tiny things become really important. Like, it was cups. Like, we all, like, almost went on strike because there weren't enough cups. And I heard, like, I went back and did, like, a little talk at my rehab once I was a year clean, and the big one then was napkins. They were moaning about not having napkins at lunch. It's like, you were wallowing around in your own shit a few weeks ago. Like, why are you bothered about napkins? But rehab's a mental place, isn't it?
Mental. I mean, I'm absolutely gobsmacked how nobody's made a sitcom out of one. Gobsmacked.
Yeah.
I know, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, Judith that runs the Carpenter's Arms with Brian. She's brilliant depiction of it. She's wrote a book, and the book's called Life in a Goldfish Bowl, and that's exactly what it's like. And I used to liken it to, like, our own little episode of EastEnders. Because everything about rehab becomes your world. You know what I mean? You get up to go for a piss, where are you going? What? You know what I mean? Everybody wants to know your business, but in that little bubble. You know? And just the stuff that I learnt in that. And, you know, the most fundamental thing about rehab for me, what did rehab learn me? It taught me, and I learned to be able to live with other people and their shit, and just realise, hold on a minute, my shit stinks just as much as yours, mate. And it taught me that, because, you know what, when I was, like, saying to Brian in times, and, you know, trying to tell him how I don't think this is right, and when you've got an ego, and this pride coming out, you know what I mean? I've just come in now, I've just done a detox off alcohol, you know what I mean? I've lost my wife, I've lost my son, I've lost my house, I've lost all this, yeah? And then I'm telling a geezer that's never took a drink and drug in his life how he thinks he should be doing stuff, you know? And he was like, and he had a beautiful way of putting stuff in, He says, I don't recall the tail wagging the dog. And I'm like, what? What's this geezer on about? That's what he's on about. He says, well, I didn't. I thought it was the other way round. What are you on about? He says, well, the tail wagging the dog. He says, I thought the dog wagged the tail. And I went, yeah. And he went, did I call you? And I'm, no. What do you mean? He said, did I call you to come into this rehab? And I'm like, well, no. He said, you called me, didn't you? And I went, yeah. He said, well, don't tell me how to run my rehab then. And I'm like, well, and when I got speaking to you, I mean, it tears something down in you, and it starts making you realise you ain't got it all together, kid.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that our thinking has us end up in places like that suggests that our thinking was pretty wrong. And but it's that level of humbling. I think my place, I was treated like a child for certainly the first 2 months because I was acting like a child, and I'd been acting like a child for the previous 20 years. Just a massive man child. And it's what I needed. But to take that level of humbling, not everyone can do it.
No.
I think that's why people drop out.
Well, I do think there's a lot of cases as well where people have not had enough. People just don't want to surrender.
Yeah.
People still think that they can do it on their own. But I'd come to a part in me where there was a bit where I'd walked into the front room, and I looked around, and it was an all-male rehab that I ran in. So I looked around this room, and I sees these lads, and I can remember just standing there and just saying to myself, how am I going to compete? Where's my mask going to come from? Where's my bravado coming from? Because I grew up with some of the hardest men this town's ever seen, and my banter and my wisecracking helped me get through. And a lot of it, and I've said to sort of friends before and that, what I mean, that social awkwardness that I suffered from. And you're always first on the dance floor and on the karaoke and all this lot. Yeah, true. Did you ever see me do it sober? Did you ever see me do it without a drink or drug? No. Like I said, I drank to go to parties. And now I'm here and I've got no substances inside me, or can't get substances to help me deal with feelings and emotions and the way I feel and awkwardness and all that. And I'm looking around, how am I gonna compete? And once again, I just felt that presence of God, and I just heard God say, Stuart, you've not got to compete. And for the first time in my life, I looked around and I just went, I don't want to. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. All these lovely things that I started being taught that, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I knew then that I had to change everything. If I wanted recovery, recovery's not going to come for me. I've got to go to it. God's there for me, but I've got to be willing to accept him into my life. And all this stuff that I've learned since I've been in recovery, that I've got to put action in. And David Cross started talking to me about, you've got to work for your recovery. You've got to start doing all this stuff, because at the end of the day, as soon as you make that commitment, it tells us in the fellowship literature that we're not necessarily, responsible for our addiction, but we are responsible for our recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I walked through that door in that rehab, I became responsible for my recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is my responsibility, to keep myself from picking up that first drink and that. And it's that first drink, that first drug. I never used to understand that. When David Cross said to me, it's the first drink that gets you drunk, Stuart, I literally looked at him and I thought, you're a dickhead. What do you mean it's the first drink that gets you drunk? I drink 20 cans of beer a day plus, snort 120 pounds worth of cocaine and smoke 20 pounds of weed a day. And you're telling me it's the first drink that gets you drunk? And then all of a sudden I felt this great big penny go doink. soon as I have one drink, I know I'm having another, and then another. And I have one drink, I'm getting pissed.
Yeah.
I open a pack of biscuits, like I said earlier on. I open a pack of biscuits, I'm having 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't have one of anything.
It's just something we can't do. I don't think anyone's really worked it out, whether it's a disease, whether it's behaviour, whether it's like we're just wired up different. I don't think no one knows for sure, do they? But we don't do stuff by arts.
I think one of the best things that I ever heard somebody say once, right. I heard a lad say, brilliant, Johnny's name is. So I'm not stealing this. I'll credit to John. He says, I'd love him to do a study between addiction and pregnancies and labour. He says, because he sees a thing between the two, whereas, a woman will be pregnant and she'll have the baby and go through horrendous pain, and she'll go, oh, first one, I ain't never doing that again, and then she'll go on to have another one and another one and another one. He says, and where I see it is, and I suppose if you look at the big book, there's the analogy of the jaywalker. I suppose you could liken it to that a bit, We know, don't we, when we get to that level, that especially if you've come into recovery, and you've admitted that you're an alcoholic, if you've admitted you're an addict, then you're armed then. You are armed, and this is where I can sort of like get a bit gobshite-ish. You know what I mean? You're then armed that if you're picking up that first drink, you're fucked. So there's where your choice comes in for me. There's where your choice comes in for me, because if I pick a drink up now, I'm choosing to accept unmanageability. I'm choosing to accept pain back into my life. I'm choosing to accept making my son cry again, through my actions and my consequences that'll cause my consequences. I'm choosing that. Whereas before, when I was inactive, I didn't know. Because of that level of denial. But when we come into recovery and we start practicing a program and doing this stuff, you know what I mean? And for anybody that's out there listening to this, I got taught by David, that I need to start working every day, and I've got loads of analogies. I could sit here all day and talk to you about all this stuff. I've got loads of analogies, and one of the analogies that I say to the lads in the Carpenters now, you work for recovery. Recovery's your boss. End of. If you don't turn up for work, just like any other job, you're not going to get paid. And how does recovery pay you? It pays you by days clean and sober. So if you don't get up and work on your recovery or for your recovery, you're not going to get paid, mate, and you're not going to get clean days. And every time you don't turn up, you're going to get poorer and poorer and poorer, and before long you're going to be back on the streets where you were. So I know for a fact, do I want to go to meetings all the time? Fucking hell no. No, I don't. Do I want to do half of the shit that I do? No, I don't. But you know what? I know for a fact that this some of the I believe I come to realise that, that I have to do this. I have to do this because I don't want to be sleeping in car parks and woodlands no more. I don't want to be pooing myself on a daily basis no more. And if I don't want to do that stuff, if I don't want to lead that life, then I've got to go to meetings when I don't necessarily want to. I'm not saying that thing, but sometimes I can come out of me and I've loved it. But you know what? I'm an inherent lazy bastard. And when I'm lying on my bed and I'm looking out and it's raining like it is today, and I'm thinking, oh, I've got to go to a meeting, you know what I mean? That laziness will come out and go, I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
That's truth and honesty.
I do like that work analogy as well, and like you have good days and bad days at work. Some days good days at work, it doesn't feel like you're working, but you know you're there and you're thinking about it a bit. You know, it doesn't. I think especially as time goes on, you've got more clean time than me, but we've both got a bit now. You know, and I think as time goes on, for me anyway, I think about my recovery every single day, and that's for one day at a time, kind of thing, and you know, staying clean and sober for today. But it's not constantly on my mind. It's like a job I enjoy. Is what I'm saying. You know? And there are some days, you know, when it's like, oh, you got to do your accounts at the end of the month in your job, and they're the days that are hard. You know, they're the days you don't want to do it. And they're the days when you actually have to work hard at it.
Definitely.
You know.
Definitely. They're the days, you know. You know, I mean, I'm a very honest man, in you know, because that's one of the most fundamental things that David Cross taught me. I can remember him saying very early on in my recovery, very early on, if you're not willing to get honest, piss off, because it ain't going to work. And the first and foremost thing you've got to do is be honest with yourself. And, you know, I stand up in truth and in integrity and thing. And if I could say, what's recovery? What's God done for me today? It's enabled me to live life on life's terms. You know, I heard a geezer say in a meeting once that because of step 1 of the 12-step program is we admitted we were powerless and our lives had become unmanageable. And we're in a meeting, and basically it was a reading out some, as Bill sees it, and it was a reading on acceptance. And this old timer, like 40 years sobriety, and he chirped up first of all and he said, you know what, he says, I think our step 1 should be our step 2. He says, because I think each and every one of us need to come to an understanding and an acceptance, pardon me, and not just alcoholics, but anybody that lives on this planet needs to come to an acceptance that we're powerless over life. And we're powerless over what life will throw at us. And that's true. That's true. But what is my higher power? What has God, what has recovery done for me? It's enabled me to accept life on life's terms and live life on life's terms without picking up drink and drugs to try and sort it out and escape the way life and life will make me feel. I've just, you know, like I said earlier on, I lost my dad. It's an anniversary coming up next month. You know, at this moment in time, I can tell my mum's going through it because she can feel the anniversary coming up. I live with my mum. I've been living with her grief for 2 years, 51 years of marriage together. Don't just go like that. What's recovery done for me? What's God done for me? It's enabled me to live and not make it all about me, but actually be there for my mum.
You know what, I think that living life on life's terms, I think some people sometimes get that confused with just lying down and taking whatever comes along. And it is partly that. It's being able to accept that life will throw shit at you. But it's not just lying down and taking crap from people, places and things. You know, I think we're certainly within our right to stand up for ourselves and work towards something. And this is what non-addicts do. You know, life throws curveballs at them, but they can deal with it without picking up, without drinking. And in recovery, we have to learn how to do that, but also like be able to work towards something.
Yeah. Well, it's like the old analogy, isn't it? I mean, what's one of the most fundamentals thing we suffer from? And it's that fear. you know, which for those that don't know, the analogy for that is that false evidence appearing real. And we've got the two other analogies within that word of, you know, what do? Do we face everything and recover, or do we fuck everything and run? Plain and simple for me, that is. You know, I have to, especially within my faith, because it tells me in my faith to capture every thought and make it obedient to the word of God. And within that, whenever I get a thought come into my head, you know, fear can be attached to a thought, but what I need to do, I need to sit down, I need to capture that thought and work out what is the truth and what is the lie. Because I've got an head that will lie to me constantly. You know, I think there's forces in this world that are trying to get our arses over every single day, and it'll place doubt within us. I can't do this, I can't do that, you know, but my faith tells me that I can do all things through Jesus Christ that strengthens me. And if I stay within the fellowships and I stay within unity of the fellowship and
Seems like a good time for a break. That was my regular delivery man for my new addiction.
Oh yeah?
Another little wrestling figure's come through.
Oh, I've seen that.
I got so many, man.
I'm going to say we could just finish up with a poem, couldn't we, if you want?
Yeah. So in case you didn't notice, someone just came to the door.
Yeah.
And we've realised we've been going an hour and a half. So what we're going to do is make this a two-parter. We've kind of got up to Stuart going into rehab and beginning his recovery journey. And it gets really interesting, even more so from now. But I guess there's a little teaser to what Stuart's been doing. You might notice his hoodie. Stu is also known as the recovery poet, and I think a nice way of ending this would be to finish with one of your poems from one of your books, which is now published.
Yeah.
And the link will be in the description, and we'll finish off with this, and then we'll sort out a time to do part 2.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rich. You know what? Even though we're only halfway through, I'm just wondering whether I ought to finish this off with No Good, Just Buy. So basically this is called No Good, Just Buy, and the reason it's called that is because, you know, within my addiction there was no good towards the end. There could have been no good between me, my addict, my alcoholic, so it's just buy. This is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do, and that is come to accept that I can no longer live with you. So you're beating me down and you took control, and you've broken my heart and you blackened my soul. And we've been together for years and years, but I've had enough now. Please, please, no more tears. And you see, too many times that we try to change, and just around and round in circles, and we're back here again. And then, yes, I can remember the laughs and all the things that we've done, but in truth, these latter years it weren't a laugh and it weren't much fun. And I cannot believe at times that I chose you over the important things, and believing in your lies and the peace that you said it would bring. And even when I was broken and I was laid out on the floor, I'd always turn to you and I'd beg, and yes, you always gave more. And when I was down, it was you that was always real nice, but in reality, it was you who gave me my problems and this killer vice. And you see, years ago we started out as just a harmless fling, but then you wanted all of me, and yes, I gave you almost everything. And I know together we had no future, and for a while I need to be alone, because yeah, I'm sorting my life out, but only this time on my own. And it's going to be hard to forget you, because you're everywhere that I look, because you're on television, in magazines, papers, sides of delivery trucks. And in everyday life, it'll be you that's what I see, because you're in the supermarkets and the corner shop. It's almost like you're following me. But you see, this really hurts. Because of our split, I'll have to lose some good friends. But you know what? That is the price that I'll pay, because there's a means to this ends. And yes, it is true that you've taken me to places that I never would have seen. But you've also taken me to places that I never should have been. And I had love. I had real love, but you hardened my heart because you didn't know what it meant. Because your idea of love is vile, it's twisted and it's bent. And I wish I would have woke up sooner and seen you for what you really are. I could have saved me all this pain, and I never should have let us get this far. And I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry, I can't cry tears for you anymore because you don't care how I feel. But you know what, I can still hear you calling me, but I won't answer you. Go on, do one, because this is my time to heal. And without you, I know I have a future, and I know that I can live. And I want nothing from you, because in fact you've got nothing to give. And I'm going to walk away from you. And yes, I'm going to do it with some pride, because you haven't got a hold on me anymore. Why should I be ashamed? Why should I have to hide? And this time I'm going to fix me, and no more papering over the cracks, because without you I can move forward and never needing to look back. And you're not worth my breath. You don't even deserve a goodbye. For I nearly took my own life, and you the whole reasoning to why. And you had the power to make me look and feel happy when in reality inside I was sad. And you know what? You made me finance it all with every last penny that I had. Oh, and these last years, they were so painful and dark. Why did you have to push me so far? From all the fun-loving days, just having a laugh with the lads in the clubs and the bars. And we can't ever be together, and I can never again be your friend, because you are my poison, and you are my ends. But you'll find someone else, I know that you will, sweet talking again with drink powder and pill. So don't ever come calling, looking for the reasons to why. Just please understand that it can never be good, so this is just bye. Thank you.
Nice one, brother.
Bless you.
Sweet. Nice one.